Hey all, another cigar and whiskey talk. Seems like these are the only thing I'm doing right now. Today is brought to you by an Alec Bradley 1600. Compliments of the Trent family. And Angel's Envy. There's a story behind this bottle. I participated in one of those let's buy each other whiskey events kind of thing. And the guy that I was actually supposed to buy whiskey for lives in a state that apparently you're not allowed to ship whiskey to. So I couldn't find a single place online where I could order whiskey and have it delivered to him. And I haven't seen him since the whiskey thing went on. And it's actually been almost a year. It was last year, I don't know, right around Thanksgiving time, I guess. So it's actually been probably a little more than a year since we did the thing. So you're not gonna get your whiskey. I'm gonna drink it. That's it. Never had Angel's Envy before, so we'll give it a shot today. Oh, almost committed the ultimate act of alcohol abuse. Almost knocked this bottle over. We'll not have that. Find a good place to set you amongst all the other bottles. Alright, so this is what I'm going to talk about today. 'Tis the season, right? I'm seeing everybody online, and you know, it's not just around Christmas time. I see all this stuff. It's all kinds of stuff. Parenting seems to have changed a lot over the years. You know, I remember back when I was a kid and what parenting was like back then for my parents, how they handled things, how all the other family members who had children handled things, and so on and so forth. And over the years, parenting is one of those things that is getting more and more farmed out and more they think they're taking it seriously, but they're not. The various electronic babysitters have pretty much taken over parenting. Back when I was a kid, you know, we only had 3 channels, and there weren't really that many kids shows on except on the weekends. So we didn't spend hours and hours and hours in front of a TV or watching a movie, because back then if you wanted to watch a movie, you waited until it came out in the theater and you went and watched it. You know, that kind of thing. That would lead me into patience, but we'll talk about that at another time. Anyway, with parenting, parents are doing less and less parenting, and more farming that activity out to other people and other things. And by things, you guys are going to get into this here in just a second. Now, don't get me wrong. A lot of problems that parents have are because of the way society works nowadays. And I know no matter how much you tell your kids, this is a bad thing to do, don't do that, but then they go out into the world, into school, and they've got all their liberal teachers, which most teachers are liberal. You can't really argue that. Well, you can, but you'd be wrong. And then they go to school and they spend 8 hours a day with other adults who are telling them basically, your parents don't know what they're talking about. This is what's really right, you know. So basically, we've got people like teachers involved in parenting children who aren't their parents, so they need to stay out of that. But then you've got parents who phone all of that in. Basically, okay, my kids are being bad. My kids aren't doing this. So basically, I'm either going to put them in front of the electronic babysitter, or now 'tis the season. This is what I'm leading into. I see everybody posting about this Elf on a Shelf nonsense that we got going on. By the way, I saw one of those in Walmart the other day. That stupid little doll is $32 before tax. 31 and change before tax. Really? Explain to me what about that thing is 32 bucks. But anyway, I'm watching people post, Elfie moved to here, such and such. He saw you doing this. He's like, okay, the elf didn't do shit. The elf didn't see you doing anything. If you want to be the parent, be the parent. Don't have an elf. A stuffed elf at that. Do your parenting duties for you. Now, when it came out, it was a cute little thing. But now, it's oh my God, everybody. It's one of those, here's what you want to do. If your kids are being bad, tell them. Don't say, hey, Elfie came and told me you did this last night. Elfie didn't do that. Okay, sorry. Anyway. Another thing that doesn't need to be phoned in. Parenting. All right. Somebody asked me to weigh in on the school shooting that took place up in Michigan not too long ago. I'm going to be honest with you. Don't know that much about it. I read one or two of the articles when it first happened. And basically it looked like another little maladjusted kid who thinks Call of Duty's real. Or whatever video game he happens to play. And decided to shoot up some of his classmates. And the thing that caught me funny about that one is this kid is underage, and apparently his parents bought him a handgun. I'm not sure what the law is in Michigan, but where I'm from, you can't own a handgun when you're under 18. And most places are like that. So, I don't know what's going on. I find it funny that both the parents and the child are being charged with various crimes, because apparently mom and dad went and hid from the police. So, I don't know what that's all about. It also looked like online that someone had talked to the school officials or someone about, hey, this kid's going to be a problem. And basically they ignored it. Probably if they hadn't have ignored it, then the parents would have been all up in arms about, you're singling our child out. And they would have been right if they had. So, that's really all I've got on that. We've got too many kids nowadays who actually think that that's the answer, because they don't see anybody else getting any repercussions from a lot of things that they do. So, why not? I'm mad at my classmates, so I'm going to go shoot them up. Did the classmates attack him? I don't know. Not at that particular point in time, they didn't. The kid had time to plan it all out, and apparently did. So, this is why we actually need to start taking our own laws seriously. That's all I'm saying. This is actually not bad whiskey. I'm actually glad I bought this. Sorry if I bought it for you. You know who you are. Let's see. Let's move on to something else. Facebook fact checkers. Let's talk about them for a little while. I recently put up a meme, whatever the hell they're called. About electric cars. And basically it was one of those, what are you going to do if you get stuck in a traffic jam that lasts for extended periods of time? You know, a few years ago we had traffic jams that lasted for a couple of days. People were stranded in snow and crap, and they were in their cars on the interstate for days. And basically this meme says, well, if you've got an electric car, you're not going to have any way to recharge it. You're not going to be able to sit there and run your heater, because if you do, you're going to run your batteries down. If you do this, you're going to do that. You're going to do that, so on and so forth. And the Facebook fact check came back and said, misleading. And I go, okay, how's it misleading? So I looked down at the little headline they said, and it said, electric cars are not more likely to get stuck in traffic jams. The meme didn't say they were. The meme said if you get stuck in a traffic jam for extended amounts of time, you're going to be in trouble because your batteries are going to run out. And with a lot of everything, I clicked through to the article, and of course this was fact checked in the UK, where I don't know if they have traffic jams where tens of thousands of people are going to be stuck on the interstate because of massive amounts of snow for extended amounts of time. Because I don't know if they get that kind of weather in England, and I don't know if they've got that kind of highway system that does that. Because most of Europe depends on mass transit, which they have a lot more of than we have here in the United States, because they have less area to cover. Plain and simple, they have less area to cover. But anyway, back to this fact check. When I clicked through to the fact check, okay, the headline in the article did not match, as usual, which is normal with modern journalism. But basically it was said, well, you're going to be able to do this, and batteries last a long time, blah, 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 blah. Well, here's the story I've got for you. I was at a class recently. And it was one of those classes where the students were free to come and go on the property. They didn't have to stay there. They didn't have to do that kind of stuff. They could do whatever they wanted to, basically, at night when class wasn't in session. And this guy comes to me at like 9 o'clock at night, and he goes, I need to leave the property. And I go, okay, fine. And he goes, do you know where there are some charging stations? Because he had an electric car. And I said, no, right off the top of my head, I don't know where there are, but I know you can find them online pretty easily. And he had an app, but he hadn't checked it yet. And he checked it, and he told me that the closest charging station was like 30 miles away. And I said, well, do you absolutely have to do that? Because that's, he'd named me, he told me what town it was in. And I said, well, that's quite a ways. It's probably half an hour drive, 45 minutes. And he basically said, well, I'm down to such and such a percent on the battery, and I'm going to spend the night in my car tonight, and I don't know if I can run the heater all night on that. So apparently, much to what this article said, because the article basically said, well, if you're not actually moving the vehicle, it doesn't use that much battery power. Well, first of all, a heater uses a lot of power. Okay? I've got bad news for you. Second of all, this guy confirmed it for me before I ever even saw that meme. So he was concerned he didn't have enough juice in his batteries to last all night running his heater because it was cold. So he left the property and was gone for a while, going to get his electric car charged, which, more power to you. If you want to have an electric car, have an electric car. But it's just like everything else. Don't tell me I have to. Okay? But basically, back to the meme, it said if you're stranded for a significant amount of time, your battery's going to go dead and you're not going to have any way to recharge it. Okay? Because it was talking about storms, and it had a picture of a winter storm on there, which I'm assuming that's what they were talking about. Because back a few years, like I said, they had that big winter storm that stranded a lot of people on the interstate. So, Facebook fact checkers, you probably ought to be fact checking yourself. And by the way, since you all admitted here in court not too long ago, Facebook, that your fact checkers are not checking facts, it's just their opinion on what they see. Because technically, if you say it's a fact, you're liable for that. And they recognize that, which is why I'm sure their lawyers said, well, don't say it's a fact. Don't say you're fact checking. Even though it says fact check right on your little thing. So you need to label your own fact checks as, these fact checks are probably misleading. I just want it to be fair. Okay? Last and not least, because I don't want this to get too much longer than it is. YouTube is pulling some hijinks on me. And they have been for about a month. I just haven't mentioned it. I log on to my YouTube, to my creator dashboard, and I pull up comments. And I try to respond to as many of the comments as I can. And here about a month ago, I started noticing that old comments from a year, 2 years, 3 years ago that I know I had responded to, the response was gone. So they're coming up in my list of comments you haven't responded to yet. So if you see me re-responding to a comment that I had responded to previously, it's because YouTube is telling me that I haven't responded to that comment, and I just don't like them coming up in the list of things that I haven't responded to yet, because I like to interact with the folks who are viewing this as much as I possibly can, and that's really about it. So I'll quit bitching for the day. I'm gonna sit here and drink the rest of this, because it's not a bad whiskey, actually. There's something floating in my cup. I'm gonna have to stop leaving this thing in the shed. Alcohol kill it. It's no big deal. So, school year has ended over at the Pathfinder School. So, I hope you all are getting signed up for classes next year. The gathering is going to happen next year, so that's a good thing. This probably should be in channel news instead of a Cigar and Whiskey Talk. Yeah, it probably should. Anyway, thanks for your views. Thanks for your support. Thanks for those of you who have actually gone through the links in my description box and supported the channel in one way or another. To the folks who have sent me stuff, to using the videos, cigars and whiskey and so on and so forth. I really appreciate that. It's not necessary, but I do appreciate it a lot. That's really about it. Make sure you jump over to my main channel page and watch some of my friends' videos. Because, quite frankly, YouTube wants to part with as little of their advertising money as they can, and any time that a channel gets monetized and has to share in that cut, or share in that profit that they're making from advertising, because that's how YouTube makes their money. We all don't want to lose money. We don't have to. Businesses are the same. So, make sure you watch everybody's videos and interact and like and comment and so on and so forth, and keep YouTube on their toes. Talk to y'all later. Have a nice one.